A 10-second penalty can turn a race winner into a backmarker or hand a rival the championship. While you're watching the race, stewards are using a hidden system that most fans never understand. These are the penalty rules that can change everything in seconds. The rule itself is precise. The edge of the racetrack is the solid white line. A car has officially left the track if no part of the car remains in contact with it. And since that white line is part of the track, as long as even a tiny sliver of one tire is touching it, the car is legal. It's a game of millimeters. But how they enforce this rule is different in qualifying versus the race, and that difference is key. During qualifying and practice, the rule is absolute zero tolerance. If a driver exceeds the track limits at any point during a flying lap, that lap time is immediately deleted. You'll see the message pop up on the screen: lap time deleted, track limits. It doesn't matter if they only went off by an inch or if they actually lost time. The rule is black and white to prevent anyone from gaining even a potential advantage. This is incredibly high stakes. A driver could be on a pole position lap, but if they run just a fraction too wide on the exit of the final corner, that entire effort is instantly invalid. It's brutal, but deleting lap times during the race would be chaos. So they do things differently. The stewards use a warning system. A driver can get away with it 3 times. After the 3rd violation, they are shown the black and white flag, which is the official warning shot from race control. If they exceed the track limits a 4th time, that's when they get a 5-second time penalty. And every time they go off after that can mean another penalty. We saw this at the 2023 Austrian Grand Prix, where several drivers racked up multiple penalties for this, 12 in total. If you're enjoying this breakdown of F1 penalties, make sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. I post new F1 explainers every week, and you don't want to miss them. Now, let's get back to those time penalties. Time penalties, the 5-second and 10-second time penalties. These are the most common tools the stewards use for on-track incidents. The 5-second penalty. Think of this as the standard punishment for a minor foul. Mistakes where a driver is clearly at fault, but it wasn't hugely dangerous or malicious. We see this given for things like speeding in the pit lane during a race by less than 6 km/h, forcing another driver off the track without making major contact, causing a minor collision, a classic oops moment. A great example was Hamilton on Albon in Brazil in 2019. Lewis clipped Alex, spun him around, and cost him his first ever podium. Lewis got a 5-second penalty for it. Now, how it's served is critical. If a driver has a pit stop left, they must enter their box and wait a full 5 seconds before the mechanics are allowed to touch the car. In a pit stop that's normally 2.5 seconds, this feels like an eternity. It can completely destroy a race strategy. If they don't have another pit stop, the 5 seconds are just added to their final race time. This means they have to pull a gap of more than 5 seconds to the car behind to keep their position, which creates some fantastic, desperate racing in the final laps. Then we have the 10-second penalty. Now, we're talking serious punishment. The stewards use this when a driver is mostly or completely to blame for a major incident. We're talking about causing a serious collision that likely ends another driver's race, driving in a way that's clearly dangerous or unsportsmanlike. A famous modern example is Silverstone 2021. Hamilton and Verstappen collided at Copse Corner. Verstappen was out of the race in a massive shunt, and Hamilton was given a 10-second penalty. Despite the penalty, Hamilton still won the race. The debate still rages about whether that was fair, but it's the perfect example of the kind of incident that earns a 10-second penalty. It's a punishment designed to really hurt, to make it very difficult but not impossible to recover from. But adding time, whether in the pits or after the race, is still just a number on a screen. What if the stewards want to send a bigger message? One that every single fan in the stands and watching at home can see in real time. This one is pure punishment. There's no strategy to it. It's a deliberate, visible handicap. When a driver gets a drive-through, they have 2 laps to serve it. The clock starts ticking from the moment the team gets notified. They must enter the pit lane, cruise its entire length at the pit lane speed limit, usually 80 km/h, and then rejoin the track at the pit exit. They cannot stop. They cannot change tires. The pit crew can't touch the car. The time lost is huge. Depending on the length of the pit lane, a drive-through typically costs a driver between 20 and 25 seconds in a race where cars are separated by tenths of a second. That is a massive blow. It will drop them down the order, often out of the points. Suddenly, they're stuck in heavy traffic, racing cars they shouldn't even be near. This penalty is for clear rule violations, not judgment calls about racing incidents, like jumping the start. The car's computer detects any movement before the lights go out, and that's an instant drive-through penalty. When teams mess up a pit stop release, they let their driver go right into traffic in the fast lane. It's incredibly dangerous. dangerous. Sometimes it's even simpler things. If you don't have your tires fitted 5 minutes before the race starts, that's a drive-through too. It's a penalty that says you broke a fundamental rule and now your race is paying the price. Losing 25 seconds basically ends your race. It's hard to imagine something worse, but there is something worse. There's one penalty that, short of being thrown out completely, is the single most dreaded punishment in Formula One. Stop-go penalty. This penalty is so severe, it's almost a disqualification in disguise. When you see one of these handed out, you know the stewards are furious. It works like a drive-through, but with an extra layer of pain. The driver has to come into the pit lane, drive to their designated pit box, and come to a complete stop. Then, they have to wait there for a full 10 seconds. The crew cannot work on the car. They can't change tires. They can't do anything but stand and watch as their driver's race dissolves in front of them. After the agonizing 10-second wait, they are released to rejoin the race. It's the 10 seconds of being stationary plus the 20 to 25 seconds it takes to travel through the pit lane. We're talking about losing over 30 seconds total. In F1, you might as well pack up and go home. Your race is over. Because it's so harsh, it's only used for the worst offenses. Things like causing a huge, easily avoidable accident out of sheer recklessness, repeatedly and deliberately ignoring blue flags when being lapped, holding up the leaders, a team doing something highly illegal during a pit stop. It's the steward's ultimate penalty for on-track discipline. Their way of saying what you did was completely unacceptable. So far, all the penalties we've talked about punish a driver in the current race. But what about a penalty that compromises your next race weekend before it has even begun? Grid penalty. A grid penalty is exactly what it sounds like. You might put in the qualifying lap of your life and earn 2 pesos, but you don't get to start there. You're forced to drop a number of positions on the starting grid. It could be 5 places, 10 places, or sometimes right to the very back. This happens for a few key reasons. Sometimes the penalty is for an incident in the previous race. A driver might cause a collision and finish the race, but the stewards decide it warrants a penalty for the next event. Another way to earn a grid drop is through the reprimand system. Think of reprimands as official written warnings. A driver can collect 4 of these over a season, but the 5th one triggers an automatic 10-place grid penalty. These can be for driving offenses, like when Yuki Tsunoda drove back to the pits in Zandvoort with loose seatbelts, which earned him a 5th reprimand and a 10-place drop for the next race in Italy. But they can even be for non-sporting issues. Sebastian Vettel got one for wearing a Same Love shirt during the Hungarian anthem ceremony. It's a system that tracks a driver's behavior both on and off the track. But the number one reason we see grid penalties, the one that shuffles the grid almost every other weekend, is for changing engine components. Each car gets a very limited number of power unit parts for the entire season. The engine, the turbocharger, the control electronics, and so on. If a team has a reliability failure, they need a new part. If they want a fresh, powerful engine for a key race, same thing. Either way, taking a part outside their allocation comes with a cost. The price for that is a grid penalty. But grid penalties only hurt you for one race. You start at the back, you fight through the field, and by next weekend, it's forgotten. But there's another system running in the background, one that's tracking every single mistake you make. And this one doesn't just reset after each race. Penalty point system. This one operates in the background all season long. Every F1 driver has a super license, which is their ticket to compete. For almost any on-track incident that warrants a penalty, the stewards can also add penalty points to that license. A minor bump might be 1 point. A more serious crash could be 2 or 3 points. The magic number is 12. If a driver accumulates 12 penalty points over any 12-month period, they receive an automatic 1-race ban. This system was designed to stop repeat offenders. A driver can't be reckless and accept the race day penalties. They have to think about the long-term health of their career. Pierre Gasly came very close to a ban in 2022, and he had to adjust his driving to be more cautious for several months until some of his older points expired. But there's one penalty that's even worse: disqualification. This means your result is completely erased. All your hard work, all the team's effort, gone. It's like you were never even in the race. Disqualifications happen for 2 main reasons. First and most common is a technical infringement. After every race, the top cars are carefully inspected in a process called scrutineering. If anything on the car breaks the technical rules, it's an automatic DSQ. Perhaps the car is underweight. Maybe an aerodynamic part is illegal. A famous one is the wooden plank under the car. Teams run their cars as low as possible for speed, but there's a limit. If the plank wears down too much, more than 1 millimeter, it proves the car was running illegally low. That's an instant DSQ. This happened to both Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc after the US Grand Prix in 2023. They lost their 2nd and 6th place finishes. It's a brutal black and white rule with no room for error. And it's not just plank violations. Daniel Ricciardo lost his first ever podium at his home race in Australia in 2014 for a fuel flow sensor issue. The second reason is a major sporting infringement. This is for serious rule violations. Ignoring a black flag, which is a direct order to pit, is grounds for a DSQ. The most famous example of a DSQ wasn't for a single race, but an entire season. Michael Schumacher was disqualified from the 1997 World Championship for deliberately driving into his rival, Jacques Villeneuve, in the final race to try to win the title. That's how seriously the governing body takes unsportsmanlike conduct. If you enjoyed this breakdown of F1 penalties, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I post new F1 explainers every week that break down the complex world of Formula One into easy to understand videos just like this one. Thanks for watching. See you next time.